So you don't trust Iran to live up to any nuclear deal? Well, then get a czar to make sure they do. With just days left to wrap up nuke talks with Iran, news breaking that's what the administration is planning to do. But did the Iranian president just do something that proves they'll never let a czar or anybody else enforce a deal? Hi, everybody. I'm David Asson. Welcome to Forbes on Fox. Let's go in focus with Steve Forbes, Rich Karlgaard, Elizabeth McDonald, Sabrina Schaefer, Mike Ozanian, and Bruce Japsen. Rich, the Iranian president saying again they're not going to let any inspectors in to military sites. So how's a czar supposed to help?
Well, you identified the problem perfectly. You could have John Wayne, you could have Clint Eastwood, you could have Tony Stark and Iron Man as your czar, and it's not going to do any good because the Iranians have proven themselves very clever liars, and their long-term goal is to build a nuclear bomb.
Well, Bruce, you know, we've had to deal with stinkers a lot in these deals over the years, these arms deals, and I'm thinking of the Soviets in particular. Reagan used to say, trust, but in fact, we have a clip of Reagan saying what he used to say. Let's play the clip.
We have listened to the wisdom in an old Russian maxim. The maxim is, doveryae no proveryae. Trust but verify.
And Bruce, the fact is you can't verify, even with a czar, if they won't let you into military sites.
Well, listen, as long as this person is a lead coordinator or somebody there to implement it, and it's anybody but Donald Trump, I would say it's a good idea because, you know, you want to have some accountability with this going forward. And I know you guys, and there's no, you know, the Senate still has to approve this. So I think it'll bring some accountability to the process if you have a point person, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a new full-time employee.
Well, if we see the treaty before we sign it, Emac, the point is that these military sites are all over Iran. That's the place where people keep weapons, at military sites, and that's where the Iranian president says we can't go.
Yeah, isn't that something? I mean, so that is I think the reason why you do not proceed along any further with talks with Iran. I think Rich Karlgaard is right, and I love my dear friend Bruce Japsen, but we've had a history now of czars saying we're not going to testify. It started in 2008, 2009, the climate change czar, you know, the Ebola czar, all declining to testify because the president can say, you know what, I have a constitutional right to have advisors basically consulting with me on what to do. So if you have an Iranian czar, the guy, you may never see him testify.
Well, Steve, Emac is entirely right. We've had 40 czars or thereabouts during the Obama administration, including, by the way, the late Richard Holbrooke was a czar for Afghanistan. His being a czar didn't fix that problem.
No, the whole thing, as you might say, is bizarre. And a czar in this situation, as you pointed out, would have all of the power of Tsar Nicholas II when he was overthrown by the communists. He'll be powerless. He won't be able to do something the Iranians won't let anyone to do.
And Sabrina, the fact is we're already beginning to give in so many areas with the Iranians. Now in the military sites, we already... The State Department, by the way, was supposed to issue this human rights report in Iran. They've been delaying that, and this is very near and dear to our hearts because, among other human rights problems that they have, they're holding a U.S. Marine, a guy named Amir Hekmati. They've been holding him for a while there without due process at all. Should we let them get away with that?
No, and David, I think you get to a really important point, which is not only is this inefficient and does it seem duplicative to me. I mean, we have a Secretary of State, we have a Secretary of Defense, we have a National Security Advisor, we have an ambassador to the United Nations, we have the President. I don't quite see why we need yet another person to negotiate this. I don't understand why Secretary of State John Kerry wouldn't be the point person. And as you're pointing out, it seems as though it's becoming a real distraction from the larger conversation, which is what is in the negotiation? What are we asking Iran for, especially on human rights and especially on the nuclear weapons previous research. So I see this as a huge distraction from the core issue.
Well, Mike, I'd like to know exactly what is in this report, but I'm thinking that already there's enough information about how we've been dealing with the Iranians to say nix on this deal.
That's right. We cannot trust John Kerry. He's proven himself to be completely incompetent. We can't trust the president on this. He's lied about it. He's proven to be completely incompetent. The Senate needs to put the kibosh on this. All right.
Well, Rich, the fact is that what the czar supposedly would do, it wouldn't be affecting the negotiations, but to be enforcing whatever deal comes. But even then, again, I think back to Richard Holbrooke, who was a great negotiator, the late Richard Holbrooke, but he couldn't fix Afghanistan.
Yeah, look, I think both Bruce Japsen and Mike Ozanian put their finger on it. This is all about the Senate, and it would be a big embarrassment if the Senate rejected this treaty. It would be a big embarrassment for President Obama, just as the rejection of his trade act in his own party in the House was a big embarrassment. And so the czar to move maybe a senator or two here or there to voting for this deal. But it just, beyond the surface, it just doesn't add up.
Well, Bruce, you're kind of our touchstone for what the Democrats are thinking these days. I'm just wondering, I hope you don't mind, but it's helpful to have your opinion on this. When you think of things like the trade deal, which the president has kind of lost his mojo on with Democrats, could this be another one of those things that he can't get Democrats to go along with?
Well, it very well could be. I mean, but I think that we've come so far along with this process that, we're inside the 10-yard line. There's just a couple weeks ready to go. And it seems to me, if these stories are starting to leak, that something is moving one way or the other. And so we're getting so close to putting this before Congress, I don't really see that this is really harming anything at this point.
Mike? This deal stinks. I don't care if we're inside the 10-yard line. We should still punt because it's a lousy deal.
Steve?
It is a bad deal, and you can have czars, queens, or whatever. It's not going to work at the end of the day. Bad deal, enforced, unenforced, shouldn't be done in the first place.
Well, Emac, what happens if the Senate says no? The president has been known to do these executive decisions that go beyond Congress. Do you think he's going to make any effort to do that in this case?
I think that would be a real stretch for him to do that, and he'd be really out on a limb without much congressional support if he tries to go it alone there. The idea of a czar, too, it really is lack of accountability. I think these guys are trying to put distance between themselves and blame it on the czar if the talks fail.
Well, Sabrina, when you think about czars, I mean, you don't think about democracy. You think about places like old Imperial Russia, et cetera. I'm just thinking that if, in fact, this president doesn't get what he wants from Congress, whether there's any way he could try to go around Congress to get what he wants with Iran.
Certainly he might try, but I think Emac is onto exactly what was sort of bothering me about this whole thing. I don't like the idea of using czar as a term in this country to begin with. We are a nation ruled by law, not by small dictators, whether we're talking about a drug czar or a massive foreign policy arrangement. I think that this is truly concerning, that this is an administration that lacks any transparency and doesn't want to have any liability at the end of it.
Okay, well, we should emphasize that other administrations have had czars as well, but I don't like the term either, and certainly they don't get a lot done. Thank you, gang. That was an excellent discussion. Appreciate it. Well, Hillary Clinton's campaign digging up the phrase revenue enhancements for their planned tax hikes to pay for bigger government. Doesn't the term revenue enhancements make you feel so much better about a tax hike?